Alvarez launches deep right field, and this one is gone! And the Astros walk them off in game one! Yordan Alvarez! Are you kidding me?
I know there's a lot of fun moments from last year's playoffs that we look back at with the Houston Astros, and there's a strong case to be made that Yordan Alvarez's home run in Game 6 of the World Series is the one that should be everyone's favorite. But that moment right there, Game 1 against the Mariners, trailing, 2 outs, Yordan at the plate, that is my favorite moment from last year's playoffs. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Gave the Astros a 1-0 series lead on Seattle. They'd go on to sweep Seattle in 3 games that were rather close. But hey, it's still a sweep, as the Astros Twitter account let Mariners fans know with very aggressive bullying. It's when they first really, I think, embraced being a heel, and I love it. And I'm excited for this weekend because it is the first rematch between the Astros and a team that they played in the American League playoffs this past year. Haven't seen the Yankees yet, but we do get the Mariners this weekend. 3 games in Seattle starting tonight, 9-10. Freaking West Coast. Christian Javier on the hill. Game 2, Game 3, you're not 100% sure of who's going to start. What's going on, everybody? It is the Paul Gallant Show, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. You can jump aboard, calling in or texting in at 713-780-3776 on the HRNP listener line. You can also join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/ESPN975. Happy Cinco de Mayo, or is it Cinco de Drinko? I can't tell. I'm wearing a shirt, Hawaiian, of course, with piñatas on it. Is that problematic? Could I be canceled for that? Akalon says on Twitter, at ESPN975, at Sean A. Mapes behind the glass. Sean, obviously what we saw last year from the Houston Astros looks rather one-sided on paper, but I felt like that was pound for pound the best series of the playoffs last year. Yes, even over that of the World Series, and maybe it's a little bit personal for me. But what say you? Where did Astros Mariners rank among all of the fun times we had talking Astros last year for you?
Well, I think obviously the day after and probably like the 2 days before the end of the Philly series was the most fun because we were like, hey, we're about to win the World Series.
Yeah.
The Yankee series was actually, when you're just talking about fun, the Yankee series was a lot of fun because I remember we were in Vegas. We were in Vegas flying back to Houston for the closeout game.
Right.
That was very fun.
We saw it happen on the plane
with a whole bunch of Houstonians also watching it on the plane. So that was fun, and it was just fun. Just Yankees, who's your daddy? But the Mariners series is probably the most. Well, actually, I do think the Philly series was.
You enjoyed the Philly series.
Was more competitive, or just as competitive too.
The Philly series, there was actually a moment where you're like, oh damn,
yeah, they're down 1-0.
Right, yeah, and then they're down 2-1, and you're like, this isn't ideal. But then things rectified themselves.
The Mariners series is right up there because you had, obviously, the walk-off with Yordan and then the Jeremy Pena in the 18-inning game.
That Game 1 is the first playoff game that I had seen in person for the Houston Astros since 2017 Game 6 of the ALCS, where Verlander took the hill against the Yankees and did what he did. Now, let's talk about these two teams as they currently stand. Only a game separates the two of them. Seattle is 1 game below 500. The Astros 1 game above. Astros 16-15. Mariners 15-16. A lot of reasons for the Astros' slow start. Injuries, you can make excuses for the lineup. Injuries in the starting rotation going forward definitely have you concerned. But the Mariners have really struggled. They have really struggled. And it should make you appreciate what the Astros have done over all these years, even if there's just 1 game separating the two and we have high standards for Houston. Because take a look at this Mariners lineup. This was the lineup going into yesterday. Julio Rodriguez, their leadoff, the reigning rookie of the year, he's hitting .231. Ty France, a guy who's normally hitting around .300, hitting .236. The only guy in the Mariners lineup that's done anything this year is Jared Kelenic, who's a bit of a head case. He's hitting .309. Eugenio Suarez, .237. Cal Raleigh, .222. Teoscar Hernandez, their big acquisition this offseason, .210. J.P. Crawford, 231. And then the last two batters of the lineup, Taylor Trammell hitting 167, Colton Wong hitting 171. They have the worst average in the major leagues. It is the worst batting average. It is 30th of 30. They have the 24th best OPS. And this is a lineup that I think some in Seattle were starting to hype up going into this year. So, look, a lot of hype for the Mariners going into this year after what they did against the Houston Astros, but it's been pretty disappointing to this point, where you still can make excuses for the Astros and still say it's early. I would just say that we should probably start pumping the brakes on that just a little bit. Some of you are probably tuning in today wondering where my allegiances lie when it comes to the Astros and Mariners. And I get it. Some of you guys don't understand my extremely heavy sarcasm and my bits. It's understandable because sometimes, I'm a great actor. Someone who used to do improv back in the day. Did you know that I was once in the play The Odd Couple? I played Roy, the guy with glasses. Yeah, I'm a damn good actor. So some of you might have believed that I actually was a half Astros, half Mariners fan. Wore that half Astros, half Mariners T-shirt to the ballpark. And yeah, I'm a bit of a slut when it comes to baseball. I have been. I went from the Red Sox to the Astros, and then I was sort of, a Mariners fan for a couple of years while in Seattle, getting paid by their flagship station, and now back in Houston. What am I? Well, officially an Astros fan. And I figured that out in the playoffs last year because it became personal. It did become personal. So I'm in a group text with a bunch of my friends that used to work at the same radio station as me in Seattle. They were talking so much trash during game one. And I didn't say a word because as somebody who knows that it ain't over until the fat lady sings, I thought to myself, there's a good chance that the Astros are going to win this thing. Let's just give it a little bit of time. One of them, my best friend in that group for a while, she started saying, bleep Houston. That's when I started thinking to myself, these bastards, they can't have success when I'm not there. And right there, it was done. My Mariners fandom. Over. So then, when you heard that home run by Yordan Alvarez, when that happened, I sent them the following video as Yordan Alvarez circled the bases.
Welcome to the real playoffs.
If you can't hear it, I said, welcome to the real playoffs, and winked. They all told me to go bleep myself, and then eventually I realized, you know what, maybe I should leave this group chat because I'm going to be distracted being a little trollster over the course of the remainder of this series. But it actually has become a little bit more personal for me, and I'm going to spare you some of the details because there's a person, he is a blogger for Mariners state-sponsored media, you could argue. I want him to be wrong. Really, that's what all this year is about. Yeah, Astros repeat champions and all that. But more so, I want this guy to be wrong because he's a baseball expert. He put together this propaganda at the start of the year. Sean, can we get a little propaganda music in the background? Because this guy has one of the funniest takes that I can remember in a while. This year should feel different for every Mariners fan because this could be the best Mariners team of all time. Oh boy, I just typed those words and you can't help thinking it's hyperbole. You can't help but remember the 1995 team that saved baseball in this town. The 2001 team that tied a major league record for wins that still stands today. You've seen successful teams, you've seen overhyped teams, but this group can still pull off a trick you have yet to witness. They can reach the World Series. And in the words of the great catcher/philosopher Jake Taylor, win the whole bleeping thing. Starting rotation? Check. Bullpen? Check. Editor's note, 3.44 ERA as a team. Maybe. Lineup? Half check. They have the worst average in the majors. Superstar? You know it. Julio Rodriguez, he's batting .233. They are a legitimate World Series contender. They could be the best Mariners team of all time. The key words are could be. But if they reach their goals, well, those words will go up in the smoke of the fireworks celebrations, and it won't feel like hyperbole anymore. Mariners blogger for state-sponsored media, whose name I will not give any publicity to. I don't want you guys to go after him, because sometimes you Astros fans are a little bit mean. And, online wedgies, that's bullying. We don't do that on this show. We don't. We haven't done this in a while. Mariners Watch is back. And I know some of you guys thought that the guy killed himself after the Astros lost. Or excuse me, after the Astros beat the Mariners. After the Mariners lost to the Astros. Fair point. But Mariners Watch is back, guys. With the Astros taking on the Mariners starting tonight for a 3-game set in Seattle.
Mariners Watch.
They had a few things go their way today. We did not. It'll probably flip when we go to Seattle. I do know how hard it is to win on the road, and it'll be very hard for them to win in Seattle.
2023.
3-2 pitch. In the air, deep left center field, hit well. Rodriguez on the run, and it is gone! Oh, Jeremy Pena sends one to the seats, and the Astros lead 1-0 in the 18th inning.
May 5th, 2023. Yeah, it's me, the Mariners guy. You probably thought I killed myself when the Astros beat us. Actually, I just shot up a bunch and passed out in an encampment that used to be a playground for kindergartners. The city of Houston is plastered on margaritas tonight. And it's as if they forgot how close we played them last year. Hey, remember when we almost beat them in Game 1? And how we almost beat them in Game 2? And how we almost beat them in Game 3? I don't get why we didn't raise 3 banners for those, right next to our 2022 wildcard banner. Hang on. Pass me that fentanyl. Yeah, no one on the team can hit worth a damn. Yeah, Julio Rodriguez is overpaid like the $5,000 a month one-room apartment I'm living in and overpaying for without air conditioning and homeless people taking dumps outside the leasing office. But Houston isn't ready for our new weapon. Special K. I'm not talking about ketamine Jesus. Cut me some slack. Jared Kelnick. He's a star. Julio Rodriguez, still a star. And the Astros? That star is about to blow up like the Death Star. We're coming. You don't want none of this.
Mariners Watch guy, he's back. I am very curious as to how violent the internet streets are going to be specifically tonight. Because it's always interesting. I follow a bunch of people from Seattle, having worked up there for a couple of years, and I follow a bunch of people from Houston, and it turns violent. Very violent. Got to say this about that violence. I'm a fan of Ben DuBose, the person. Ben DuBose is the shield that guards the realm of men from bad refereeing. But I don't like how Ben DuBose goes private during Astros-Mariners games on Twitter. I don't like it. Ben, you got to stand tall in the pocket. You can't just tweet out mean things about the Mariners and not expect, the blowback. And by the way, you have the high ground, much like Obi-Wan Kenobi had the high ground on Anakin. Yesterday was May the 4th. Hey, we forced a Star Wars reference in today's show, too. How about that? Ben, you can't go private tonight. You got to stand in the pocket and fight. Fight to the finish, okay? But I love it. I love the violence. It's fun because I'm friends with everybody. Like, I like Mariners fans. I do. And I like Astros fans, obviously. And I like to sit back and say, like, hey, guys, just have fun. Just have fun. But I am rooting for the Astros definitively in this series. The half shirt is gone. We're not wearing it anymore.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're making steps in the right direction, but you still have a little ways to go. You need to start hating these Seattle Mariners people. You gotta, Ryan Divish is an enemy.
I can't. No, but Divish is cool. I like.
No, you can't do that.
What? He's a beat writer
He's
for the
an
Mariners.
enemy.
No, he's not an enemy. No, the guy who's writing the propaganda stuff for the Mariners and claiming that this is the best team in team history when they've won, a record-setting amount of games in a season before, that guy's the enemy.
Ryan Divish is just the only Mariners person I can name.
Divish is actually pretty critical of the team, like hypercritical of the team, and on top of that, he's a Montanan, so he's a little extra badass.
Wow, like Yellowstone.
Yeah, I think at least he's Montanan. That's what I want him to identify as. East Side. For those who don't know, the east side of Washington State is like super, super, super conservative. It's an interesting dynamic. Like the entire state of Washington is essentially conservative outside of Seattle, but the majority of the population of Seattle is hyper liberal, and that outweighs the entire rest of the state. It's a very interesting little split that you have between the two. Pacific Northwest, everybody. How about that?